Scarcity is repellent. Acting out of trust and abundance and like being able to tap into the truth that there is more than enough at all times for real. Like that's not just woo-woo speak. What we actually know is that there are enough resources on the planet for every single human being to live a good life.
Yeah.
This is just the data.
Welcome to Plenty. Today we have something a little different for you. I am being interviewed. So this is not me interviewing someone, but it is me sitting down with one of my dearest friends, and she is asking me questions. Her name is Jennifer Finley. She is the head of growth over at my dear friend James Wedmore's company. And she is also James's fiance. And I love Jenny, and we are talking about my experience, or Mike and my experience, increasing our launch last year. Our earnings per lead went up from $48 to $63. Now, if you don't know what that means, I'll just kind of break it down for you. Earnings per lead is your most important launch metric. So if you run an online business, if you desire to run an online business and sell digital programs, digital courses, or products of any kind, this episode is for you. You'll hear the story of basically how synchronistically I reconnected with James through using my intuition, which remains to this day my greatest superpower in business. And James was our unofficial launch coach, and how exactly we massively increased our launch results. So this is my business by design case study being interviewed by Jennifer Finley about James Wedmore's BBD program. Enjoy. Welcome to Plenty. I'm your host, Kate Northrup, and together we are going on a journey to help you have an incredible relationship with money, time, and energy, and to have abundance on every possible level. Every week, we're gonna dive in with experts and insights to help you unlock a life of plenty. Let's go fill our cups.
Please note that the opinions and perspectives of the guests on the Plenty podcast are not necessarily reflective of the opinions and perspectives of Kate Northrup or anyone who works within the Kate Northrup brand.
All right, here we are. We are in Austin, Texas. We have to tell people how we ended up here, Kate, because it's so fortuitous how we ended up. We are not in the Mind Your Business podcast studio.
Clearly.
We are not even in Arizona. We have brought our multi-state friendship to my hometown of Austin, Texas, as fate would have it. Yeah. So let's start with how we ended up in these seats. And I will preface this with, we're going to do a very special episode of the Wednesday Weekly Win Mind Your Business podcast, Digital CEO Success Stories, my favorite segment, about Kate Northrup's success story. And Kate is also one of our dearest friends and vacation buddies. Yes. We have to steal a child to go on vacation with the Northrup clan, but we borrowed our nephew and we went to Harry Potter.
Or we could just offload our children into a different kind of vacation.
I'll take one.
Either way.
Yeah, actually, I have a really good story about one of your children that I shall get to later in the episode. I kind of want to touch on what it's like to be an entrepreneurial mom and be raising the kids with this entrepreneurial spirit. Because to me, that's part of your success story, is that you've created a very inspirational path for me, watching you as someone who doesn't have kids yet and is, considering it. But like you and Mike are two of our role models of like, okay, that's how you do it. That's how you maintain your personal power, your identity, your self-expression, your clarity of who you are as an entrepreneur, but also the full embodiment of being a mother. This is how I see you. It's just like,
thank you.
Like fully embodied by like you're living into your dharma and what you're here to create, while also being so present and fully committed to your kids and raising these incredibly mature and intelligent little humans.
I love our
So
girls
we'll get into that.
Great.
But first, why don't we start with who you are, what you do?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So who I am is I'm Kate Northrup. I am a 2-time author. I wrote a book called Money, a Love Story. It's one of the
Love the
it's
title.
one of the originals actually in the like money healing space. I wrote it over a decade ago, and I wrote another book called Do Less, and I help people have a better relationship with their time and money. Primarily with their money these days. And I have a neuroscience-based approach to help people heal their relationship with money.
I love that. And you have a digital business. You have
I have
digital
a digital
products.
business, digital products. We have our primary course is called Relaxed Money, combines nervous system healing and personal finance and wealth energetics and manifesting and investing.
Love.
All of them. Everything you need.
And investing.
And
There was a head swivel.
And then, really that's like 80% of our business. So
Yeah.
let's just talk about that.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I wanna walk back to, and you're a mom. I
I'm
mentioned
a
that.
mom. I have 2 little girls, 6 and 9.
6 and 9, 2 of my favorite ages.
They're such great ages.
They're such great kids too. They're so mature for their ages. Like they're kids where you meet them and you just go like, you're just a grown up and you're back again for more. Just an old soul in a little person body.
100%. Ruby came out and I was like, oh, hey there. Like it was so like, oh yeah.
Ruby, that was the story that popped in my head was we're in Harry Potter world and I've got all the kids and if Ewan's mother is listening, earmuffs, chill while I reveal how much sugar we fed to your son while he was on vacation with his auntie and uncle. So one of James's rules with Ewan is if he wants a churro, he can buy a churro. And he had his own little wallet and wanted to purchase churros. So someone's on a ride. I've got Ewan. We're hunting for the churro stand. And I believe he bought 2. I thought he was buying one for Ruby and him. They were both for him. And so I turned to Ruby. I'm like, do you want one? She goes, no, my mom would not want me to have a churro. And I was like, okay, would you like some watermelon? Yes, I would like some fresh fruit. And I was like, that is the best. There was no like sneaking around. It was so funny. I remember one time Ewan had a churro and he said, let's not tell anyone how many churros I had. And I was like, well, you might want to wipe the evidence off your face there. He was covered in cinnamon sugar. Like, no one will know.
Oh, I don't know. It's like the cat hiding under the couch with their tail sticking out.
Yes, exactly. But I think that what I think stands out to me about being around your kids and then also watching you parent them, that's inspiring to me, is you parent them to make their own universe of decisions. Like I watch you apply the principles of entrepreneurship with them where you're like pressing them to be little entrepreneurs of their own experience and like, okay, what do you want to do with that? Well, what are you going to do about that? Like Ruby was cold. And so it was like, okay, well, how are we going to fix that then? And she's like, I need pants. And you're like, I will produce you getting more pants then. Yeah. But it was like her making that decision.
Well, in our world, we are, I have a thought about this.
Yes.
Like, in our world, we are so like general society and, probably just American society, right? That's the only society I'm super familiar with. Our culture is really about outsourcing our decisions, outsourcing our power, pawning off like, I have this problem, someone fix it.
Yeah.
Right? Like give me a pill, give me an instant, like somebody fix this for me, right? And it leads to so many issues that we have addiction and like just like complete lack of connection with our inner power. So with my girls, when they tell me things where they're complaining about them, I want them to know they are welcome to share their pain with me. And also, I want to let them know as early as possible, like your locus of power is inside. So I'm here. I'm going to support. I'm going to provide. I'm going to whatever. But like, what's the plan? So yes, Ruby got wet in the Jurassic Park water something or other.
Oh, yeah.
It was
there was some sort of water gun shootout that we didn't witness with kids that were not in our group where they just drenched all of the children in our group.
And then Ruby came to me and she's freezing and she was freezing cold and she just kept telling Mama, I'm so cold. I'm so wet. I'm so cold. But she was like in such a spin that she wouldn't even let me do anything about it. And I was like, okay, like
how are we solving this?
Yeah, what's the solution?
The next
What's
available action.
Available action step, 100%. And we were like, okay, now we're going to find small enough pants in Harry Potter world, which turned out to be hard. And then the only pants available were pajama pants. She didn't want those. And I was like, your option is wet pants or dry pants
That's
that you don't like.
the moment that I loved. When she was like, I don't like these, they're scratchy. And you're like, do you like them better than wet pants?
That's what it was.
Then we have a bingo.
And she said yes. And I was like, great, you can wear no pants, wet pants, or scratchy pants that are dry.
Problem solved.
And she went with scratchy, dry pants.
Yes. So good. I love that. And then with Penn, then the memory that I thought of, and I don't even know if I texted this to you. I hope I did. When we got home, I had the kids do the little exercise at breakfast where they wrote down what would make today the most magical day. And then I had all of them together and we would like draw kind of out of the hat. We would sit down at lunch and we go, okay, let's lay them all out. How many have we done? How many do we have left to do? And they all had different suggestions, like get ice cream or go ride a roller coaster. And Penelope had written, ride a really scary roller coaster. And then in parentheses, everyone's name misspelled, except for Jen and except for Ewan, unless Ewan decides that he wants to go on the roller coaster. And I thought that was so perceptive of her because we were at breakfast and I did not say directly to her, I'm not going on a roller coaster with you. She overheard me saying, I don't like going on roller coasters. And she made sure to make a little footnote that I was not to be included in it was still going to be a great day if she got to go on the roller coaster. And I thought that was really adult of her to do that.
She is really conscientious of the external world. Sometimes to a fault, but we're working on that. She's super externally referenced.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is super sweet.
Yeah.
And makes her great at relationships.
Yes. Well, I want to get into that, like how you've navigated or balanced the world of being a very successful entrepreneur and then also being a parent to young kids and what that felt like, maybe even when you went from 1 to 2 kids and the different chapters of that. We'll get back to that. But let's back up to, for people who don't know how you got to where you are now.
Sure.
Take me back to like the beginning of your digital journey. And then I would love for you to weave in like how and where James's coaching started to play into that.
Many times, actually. And it's fun. It's fun because I've been at this since 2010. So in 2010, I started a blog, not knowing that had business potential. I just wanted to write about whatever I felt like writing about.
You were writing about money?
Whatever.
Oh, whatever.
I was literally, here's how I started.
I'd listen to you talk
Here's
about
how
whatever.
I started my first email list. I knew that with a blog, I needed an email list.
Yes.
That, I don't know how, I just figured that out. So I was like, great, here's what I'm going to do. I sent an email to everybody I knew, literally everyone in my email contacts that I'd ever met. It was about 2,000 people. Okay. And I BCC'd, so it wasn't spammy.
Right. Oh, I love that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Very privacy concerns.
Important note.
Actually, no. You know what? I was
BCC.
using I was using a software that's not a thing anywhere more called Direct Mail through Apple.
Yes. Okay. I remember that.
Long time ago. So using that, said, okay, great. Here, I'm starting a blog. I'm going to write a little bit about personal development, spirituality, money consciousness, relationships, and wellness.
Yeah.
Do you want to sign up for my list?
Yeah.
And literally, that was my email. So compelling. 400 people signed up. Not bad out of 2,000.
That's incredible.
With zero specificity.
Yeah.
And then so I just started writing every week, whatever I felt like writing. And then I ended up becoming connected because I was reading Danielle Laporte's blog. So I was connected with her and like became an affiliate of something she was doing. And then right around that same time, I had met Marie Forleo in a yoga class.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget.
As one does.
And we were on our way to the beach and I was sitting in her car and I'll never forget the moment. She goes, so I was thinking about starting this online course for women to teach them marketing. What do you think? And I was like,
is this B school?
I was like, sounds great. I would take it. And so then I was an affiliate for B School the first year and then for 10 years after that. And anyway, so I learned, if I can get the people, I can be an affiliate and make money doing this.
Yeah.
I didn't have my own thing to sell. But so for the first 2 years, I just wrote about whatever I wanted to write about, grew my email list, and sold other people's stuff.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
So that's how I got started. Then in 2012, I was living in the Hamptons in my girlfriend's summer house in the off season. It was very drafty. Mike and I were so cold all the time. And
How cold does it get in the Hamptons off season?
it's just like cold, and also it was like a summer house, so it wasn't like really properly, insulated.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like New York State, so cold.
Cold and damp.
Yeah, cold and damp.
Yeah.
So we were cold. And I had gotten my book deal for Money, a Love Story. And a lot of people in our email list were emailing in to be like, I want to learn the money work from Kate. And I was like, great, my book comes out in September 2013. So just hold tight. And Mike, God bless him, my husband, at the time, my boyfriend, was like, you could just teach a course based on the book now so that they don't have to wait. And I was like, oh, okay. Because Mike and I sort of met through the online marketing world.
Okay.
Sort of. So anyway, all that to say, in one weekend, we sort of like slapped together a, spontaneous video sales letter of me like all mic'd up in front of our fireplace.
Yeah.
We get it up. We get the whole thing. I don't know. He like figured out all the back end stuff. I didn't really know what I was doing. Sent out an email, did like our first little launch. We sold $20,000 worth of a $97 course.
Wow.
And I hadn't created it. So I didn't know the monetize before you make it.
It was just $97.
$97. We made 20 grand. We were 27 and 28. I thought
that would be huge.
I was going to die. I was like, oh my God, my laptop is an ATM.
Wow.
So we did the monetize before you make it, except I didn't know that's what I was doing. And then I taught the course, and that was the Money Love course. We ended up going on to sell over 5,000 of them, making over $1 million with that little puppy.
That little $97 course.
And so that had been in March 2012. James came to visit us that May.
Wow.
It was the first time I met James. And so that was because...
Your mom?
No, he was dating somebody who Mike was in James's course with.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yes. So Mike ended up meeting this person through Video Traffic Academy?
Yeah.
Okay, Video Traffic Academy. And that person met James, and then James was at our house, at the drafty summer house. So he came Memorial Day weekend. We all spent the weekend together, and James like started teaching us about outsourcing.
Yeah.
And at the time he had this outsourcing course and whatever. And he's just like on his laptop teaching us all the things. So that was my first ever experience being coached by him.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this guy seems like he really knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know, 2012. Cut to us several years later. We all went to Costa Rica together. It was like 6 months later.
Yeah.
We all went to Costa Rica together. I was selling something called, at the time it was a wellness program called the Foxy Bod.
Oh, I love the title.
Amazing. So James on that trip.
I'd buy the Foxy Bod.
Right? So good, right? I should revive the Foxy Bod. Anyway,
Where's the Foxy
on
Bod?
that trip, James taught me not only how to surf, but also how to use Keynote graphics to make my own sales page, and he taught me how to do a webinar.
So on brand.
And
in Costa Rica,
in
on
Costa
vacation.
Rica. Yeah.
There's no off switch.
No. So by the end of that trip, I not only knew how to surf, I knew how to make Keynote graphics myself, and I knew how to lay out an entire webinar. So I used that to sell the Foxy Bod.
Was he teaching you the format where you've got the text on the screen of what you're teaching in the slide deck?
Yes.
Yeah. That you know what's so funny is that people will comment on. I was just telling him, like, you get comment trolls all the time from cold traffic.
Yes.
And people will comment something like,
they're really special.
What is this webinar format? Why is there no one on screen, or I'm just reading off a slide deck? And James will go like, they can complain about it all they want. That webinar converts like 40%. So, we're not going to touch it.
No, I was teaching it with my face and the slides.
Oh, that's perfect. That's even better.
Okay.
But you can do either.
Okay.
But the most important component is there's this weird statistic that has emerged from tracking adult learning.
Okay.
And that's that adults retain information that they are both experiencing, reading, and hearing. So if they can see you saying it, and read it while they're listening to it,
Yes.
it's going in at a different dimension. And if you're like, oh, I don't really like being on camera, then don't be on camera.
Doesn't
Just
matter.
have your slides, say what you, just have your script, read it. And so we have both. Sometimes you can see him delivering it. And then sometimes it's just, you'll hear the audio of him going through the slide deck.
Yeah.
And it's incredible that that's still, and he'll say like, I agree with you, those in the comments saying maybe this doesn't look the best, but in entrepreneurship, you go with what works, not what is aesthetically
Are you
pleasing.
learning or are you not?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I love that. So that was end of 2012.
Yeah.
He taught me how to do webinars. And then I don't know, then Mike and I like got married and had babies, and then we went off to outer space, and Mike got sick. There was like some lost years in there. We touched in with James a little bit, but it really wasn't until so honestly there were some lost years.
Yeah.
And then he came. You know what? No. There was another time. Oh, this was a big one
It's
as
all
well.
coming
It's
back.
all coming
It's all
back.
coming
So I had my book launch for Do Less.
Yes.
It was 2019, and I don't remember why this happened, but James was doing a one-day workshop on my book launch day in LA, and I
wow.
was launching my book in LA.
The synchronicity.
So I showed up,
Yeah.
and he was talking all about the scorecard, which became the digital
Yes.
CEO dashboard. Mm-hmm. And it blew my mind because I'm very creative and I'm like super emotions forward.
Yeah.
And like, it's not usually my first instinct to track a metric.
Okay.
But I was like,
Yes.
oh, wait, if we had a dashboard like this in my company, we could actually, unbelievable, know what was working and what's not based on more than my intuition. And even though I love my intuition and it's 99% of the time spot on, having an actual tangible 3D thing to be like, this is working, throw this thing out.
Yes. Do you know what's
so
also
helpful.
nice about that? We can circle back. We can
of
circle
course.
back to intuition. But when you are really intuitive and you're making business decisions for your team, sometimes that can feel risky and very vulnerable to be with. I'm leaning into what you feel is an intuitive choice, and you have no
Data.
net that you're working with in the 3D realm. But then when you have a dashboard to look at it retroactively, then you have the numbers retroactively saying, oh, wow, Kate's intuition was right. And when you can reproduce that result over and over and over and over, and then you go, okay, we did the thing, here are the numbers, I was right, it made us money, it was successful, then the team can actually lean into your intuition a lot more. So I even think for people who are like, oh, I prefer to be more intuitive with my business decisions, well, you can use the dashboard actually
back up your intuition.
to look back also.
Yes,
You
I
don't
love
have
that.
like you could if you weren't ready to be using it proactively, which I think is the best way to use it.
Yeah.
If you weren't ready for that, you could get that dashboard and you could look backwards and just fill it out for like, okay, I'm going to look at 2024 and I'm going to fill out every section of this and then go, which intuitive decisions did I make that were very fruitful for the business?
There. I love that so much. Yeah, that dashboard was a game changer for us. So I went in, I went back into our company, and we had just had a very significant reorg right before my book launch. Like, we had fired like 3 people and cut down 3 other people to half time.
Yeah.
So we were in a time where we really needed to like get super serious about like every single
Performance.
thing needs to get a result. So it was perfect timing. So that was that. I also forgot that I went to, and I was sat in the audience of James's Creative Live. And so he taught
You were
me.
in that audience?
Yeah. So he taught
Oh
me
my
how to optimize my YouTube and grow my YouTube channel to launch my book, Money Love Story.
Wow.
So I launched Money Love Story with huge support from my YouTube channel,
Yeah.
thanks to him teaching me how to do all the SEO stuff and whatever. Totally forgot about that. And then, so after 2019, that was the lost years. End of 2023, I don't know, I got a hit to voice memo James.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, you want to be an affiliate for Relax Money? And he was like, yes, but on one condition. And I said, what? And he was like, you have to come visit me in Sedona. And I was like, Okay, except that both of those things are.
I don't know if I can hold up to these terms.
Also, both of those
Mr.
things
Wedmore.
are for me. like this is not a like quid pro quo. Like this is like
that.
Yes, I'll do something for you. I would also like to do another thing for you. Like
the
he's so
worst
generous.
secret, Kate, is that we have Airbnbs in Sedona so that we can lure our friends to come and visit us at any time.
So we came to visit, and during that trip, James realized we had a launch coming up, and he was like, "Hey, would you let me like be your launch coach just for fun?"
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I would happily do that. And so James and I and Mike were doing calls throughout our last launch last year, and I can tell all the details of how much better it did, but it did wildly better because he was in our ear. And so that was, and then Harry Potter World.
The highlight of the kickoff of this year and the celebration of our engagement.
I know. We're so excited to be there. So anyway, there's been a lot of James peppered throughout my business
I love
journey.
that.
A lot.
Yes.
Yeah, in key moments.
Yes, and he does have such a broad depth of skill because he has cultivated this ability to master something, distill it down, and then be able to pass it off to someone in a way.
Such a good teacher.
He's a really great teacher of complex systems where he can simplify it and turn it into this step-by-step manual where it's not quite as overwhelming. And people say all the time when they get inside of his digital courses, especially Business by Design, they'll be like, oh my gosh, there was so much here. And he'll go, yeah, you're not meant to consume all of this.
No.
It's a choose your own adventure
as you need it.
Video game, and you're not choosing A and B. Ignore B. Just choose A. That applies to you. Go over there and do that. And he happens to run like every single type of digital launch product business. Like we have a physical product, we have digital products, we have a membership, we have a course, we have
mastermind.
a mastermind. We've got, sometimes he'll do a one-on-one thing like he did with you, and he does all of it, but he has systems for each one. And most digital entrepreneurs are just picking one.
Right.
But he does have the depth to be able to do like, okay, tell me exactly what you're going to do. And then he knows how to coach that because he's done all of it for so long. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was all these little we had already had a 7-figure launch for Relax Money before.
Yeah.
But we were able to do all these little launch tweaks to dramatically increase the results with the same product, same launch, but just like all the little levers that he helped us pull.
Okay, so why don't you tell me about whatever you want to reveal, but a specific launch enhancement that you made based on his coaching. And I would love to hear he does do counterintuitive coaching sometimes. If there was a piece of his coaching where you were like, oh, I don't know about
100%.
that. Okay.
Couple things. But I also, I know, I've known James long enough to know that when not 100% of the time, but like when I do what he says, it does tend to work.
Right.
So I'm like, all right. And also like, he's been at this, he has the receipt. So
yes,
I'm not going to be like, oh, you're wrong. I know what I'm doing. Like, I don't have as big of a business as he does. Probably he does, he does know. Again, always tempering through my own intuition. But I will say one thing he shared with us, and I don't want to get too much into the launch strategy because of course it is in BBD, but just the highlights was really shifting the way we did the pitch at the end of our 3-day workshop.
Yeah.
So rather than invite right away in the doors, we gave folks the weekend to really pause and rest.
Man, do people resist that one.
And consume the replays and do their homework and digest. And as someone who really stands for doing less to make more and really using feminine principles in business and really believing that relaxation is one of our power principles, like having this gorgeous 3-day experience that I just led people through and then just being like, awesome, let's digest this instead of going into a big bells and whistles pitch.
Yes.
Felt so deeply relaxing and like a huge relief to me. And what I heard from people over and over and over again, because we ended up building a pop-up Facebook group that with over 7,000 people. It was wildly active from the live event. They were like, I am so delighted that at the end of all that free value you just offered, your call to action was digest and implement. not a hard sell.
I just got chills.
Just like it was so deeply aligned with how we do business. It felt great to everybody.
Well, I wanna unpack that a little bit because I think you're the perfect person to articulate this for entrepreneurs out there because your expertise is around the abundance and the ease of money flowing to you.
Yes.
And here's what I've noticed about people resisting this. So for anyone listening, what Kate is referencing is what James calls a pivot and pull offer, where you're presenting the offer, you pitch it, and then you're going to pivot and pull the offer off the table. So instead of saying, here's the offer, doors are open now, hurry, run through the doors and make sure you get your spot. You just go like, doors open, you know what? It's Thursday. This is the offer. Doors open Monday. If you're interested, I'll see you Monday. And then you end your training on a Thursday and your doors do not open until that Monday morning. And I hear people all the time go, but what about my momentum? But doesn't that mean that I'm going to leave money on the table? Aren't people going to forget about me? I'm so nervous that if I don't say bye right now, I'm going to lose them. So I would love your perspective of one, like what you said about that's the feminine energy, to be able to hold still and then hold space and let the people that are supposed to work with you be drawn to you, not in this, I have to drive action and go grab them and get them and drag them across the finish line. There's this magnetic waiting that's happening there.
Yeah.
And then also maybe what that means in terms of if you are activated by that, by that, what I mean is if you're activated by the thought of I'm going to pitch something and then not open the door, what might be coming up with your scarcity?
So there's two things here. First of all, I teach something that I learned from my mother called egg wisdom. And egg wisdom is the principle of the feminine at work. And it is our biological blueprint, certainly as women, but actually as all humans, because every single human started in the form of an egg.
Woo, just got chills.
And so the way all of us were conceived is with egg wisdom. And the egg gets released at ovulation, and the egg comes out of the ovary and sits at the top of the fallopian tube and literally sits there and emits a magnetic hormonal signal that has the ability to not only tell the sperm where it is, so she is just sending out this signal that goes all the way down to the cervix and lets them know where she is. But not only that, that hormonal signal, it's an energetic hormonal signal, also has the ability to speed up the rate at which the sperm swims to her.
Wow.
Her magnetism, feminine magnetism, as embodied in metaphor by the egg, is how all of our bodies were formed.
Wow.
And so as soon as James told me about the pivot and pull, I want to say the pray and pull, which is pull and pray, which is like not what this is. But since I'm talking about egg wisdom, it feels really
right. Might delete later.
So as soon as he told me about that, I was like, that feels so relaxing in my body. And what I love birth metaphors, I love our physiology to provide for us the model of like the ultimate abundance and the ultimate creativity. And what we know is that in our bodies, when we are relaxed, we are actually far more fertile.
Yeah.
We actually can make something happen in a way we cannot when we're all tense and like, I got to do it now, otherwise I'm going to lose them. So scarcity, acting out of scarcity is repellent. Acting out of trust and abundance and like being able to tap into the truth that there is more than enough at all times for real. Like that's not just woo-woo speak. What we actually know is that there are enough resources on the planet for every single human being to live a good life. This is just the data.
Yes.
And so when we can tap into that truth, when we can look at nature and our bodies as the ultimate models of abundance, then it really just is like, if somebody wants this, they're going to be so magnetized because what I have is so good. And if it's a match for them, it's going to be a match on Thursday.
Yes.
And they will only have increased their desire for that thing by Monday we think about dating, right? And this is some people won't like this, but the truth is, like, when we have to wait, it does increase the desire. And that is egg wisdom.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love so much of what you said, which I want to hang a lantern on some of it. One is that you may be one of the only entrepreneurs that I've heard James give that coaching to, and you said that just relaxed me. For usually they're like,
yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean, John? Oh my God. But what do you mean? You're like watching your eyes dilate, And so I think that that's so neat how you framed that for yourself, that it's kind of like, oh, of course, because that's being in the magnetic, powerful feminine.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that you said that really just clicked for me in my mind is, I think as entrepreneurs, especially in our own businesses, when we're looking at the performance of a launch, we get looking at the number, and the number is like the dollar sign of the bottom line of how many sales, what's the profit, how much revenue. But that revenue always comes back to, for what we're selling, the relationship to a person, because you're selling coaching.
Yeah.
This is a digital product-based business where another human is saying, I want to work with you. I want you to help me solve my problem.
Exactly.
So I'm going to bring you into my world so that you can solve my world. That's what we're doing, is like that. I think that's what's so beautiful about the industry. But when you get hung up on, well, my launch didn't do well or my launch did well because it made this amount of money, what we're really talking about is how many people responded to the way that you presented your ability, capacity, and openness to help whatever it is that they need solved. So it makes so much sense that if you can get your body and your physiology and your emotions into a space of, I'll be right here. There's no scarcity. There's no urgency to act in this moment. What there is for you to take everything I just gave you and be with that.
Yeah.
And then if you're ready for more, I'll be here for more in 3 days.
Exactly. And also what it did for me as a presenter who had just taught to thousands of people for that amount of time, which was it was a big energetic output. It also, for me, because we do as entrepreneurs in the digital space, turn right around, we get off the webinar and we're like, how many people bought? Mm-hmm. What it did for me is it allowed me to savor and put a pin in, or like put a bow on the workshop itself as its own entity,
and its
as
own gift.
Successful deliverable.
Yeah.
And I didn't get right off and start to judge how good that was based on immediate sales.
Yes.
And so for me, actually, it felt really, really good because I could just feel the deliciousness of like a job well done.
Yeah.
And serve. And then turn around and serve the people in the Facebook group. And I just like got in there and had the time of my life.
Yeah.
Coaching them and being with them. And I hadn't been super boots on the ground like that in years, honestly. I'd gotten a little like, that's the important thing. And then I was like, what is more important than supporting my people?
Yeah.
And I just had so much fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
Can you think of like one specific interaction where you were in your group of people during the open cart period that was different than how you showed up before in open cart?
Well, I hadn't done open cart like with a Facebook group in years.
Okay.
So I had not been
But did
directly.
you have like a webinar Facebook group, or you were just
Nope.
No. Okay.
I hadn't been doing that.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't been doing that strategy.
Yeah.
For
So there was no way to get a high touch point with you
other than
in open
DMs
cart.
in my Instagram.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I would DM with people, but that's a one-on-one conversation versus when we're in that pop-up Facebook group, I'm having a one-on-one conversation,
But everyone's
which
listening.
can then be seen by 9,000 people. So
Yes.
the leverage of that
Yeah.
was so tremendous. And I had really been sleeping on that strategy because in my head I was like, oh, Facebook is passe. A
lot of people feel
I'm
this
like,
way.
Wrong. Like that thing killed. Like it was
I know.
amazing.
And people make an argument for, we've considered going off Facebook quite a few times for all there's plenty of reasons. And if
Totally.
you're not on Facebook, no shame in that game. But like one of the things that when we were making we'll do these, well, should we be on Facebook or not? And we'll have these two sides of the argument where James and I will argue both sides with each other. And my side for arguing for it was like, what I love about Facebook is that people can be going about their day doing something else, talking to their cousin about, the cowboy boots they just bought. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's Kate's launch.
Yeah.
And that's like when you go back to old school advertising. This is why they put commercials in the middle of your favorite program. It's why the highest paid commercial was during the Super Bowl.
It's also like if you even take it back before, digital media of any kind or broadcast media of any kind, it's back to like you're literally in the market in your village.
Yes. So it's like what James says is like, don't build your lemonade stand in the middle of the woods and be upset that you didn't get sales. You got to build the stand on the side of the road where people are already driving by and they're already thirsty.
Yes. So we do once you join the program, our community is somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But the free event, all the lead up is right there in the marketplace.
Yes.
But once you buy, you don't have to eat your apples in the marketplace. You can eat them at home.
Yeah.
Or in a private chateau.
Yeah. Love.
or wherever with the rest of the apple eaters.
Let me see. What are my other... Well, okay. So tell me a little bit about, if you want to share numbers, about how this launch performed versus the other ones.
Well, what really, I'm a very good student. When somebody tells me to do something, I just freaking do it. So, with our EPL, James was, of course, like, earnings per lead is the number. And of course we were tracking conversion rates. We were tracking, top level sales, whatever, but we were not tracking earnings per lead. Mm-hmm. So our earnings per lead in the previous launch that James had not directly supported us with was $42 a lead. And it went up in this launch to $68 a lead.
Whoa.
Which was a significant increase.
Yeah.
Again, same product.
Yeah.
Same launch style.
Yeah.
It was just these tweaks. So the pivot and pull was big. The other thing that's not necessarily that James really helped us with from a positioning standpoint was changing the way we gave scholarships. So we used to make scholarships a big part of our front end launch. And we ended up changing the way we do it. I'm not going to get into the specifics of how we do it, but we ended up being able to give twice as many scholarships.
Wow.
While really shifting it and taking it out of our front end in a different way. And it was really powerful because we were able to serve way more people who needed it.
Yeah.
Those scholarship winners have gotten incredible results, whereas our previous scholarship winners, many of them would fall off the face of the planet and never actually do the program. So now we're doubling scholarships.
That is cool.
Increasing the number of people who are actually doing the work, who receive the scholarships, and from a front end positioning perspective, not having that be this huge part of our launch really shifted the focus to, hey, you have a problem. This is the program. Here's the investment. So it wasn't like before we had been adding static to the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did that involve being a little bit more private about the way that you presented and then qualifying people who, yes. Isn't that interesting? Because I think people sometimes hear oh, well, if you're not going to be upfront that you do have a scholarship, then that means you're not giving it to as many people. And it's like, no, not necessarily.
Giving it to twice as many people.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I love talking to you about this too, because there is a stigma in the digital entrepreneur space where people will say, oh, I thought Business by Design was just for beginners. I know. Well, your face.
I am
the
not.
Next time
I am
someone
not new, folks.
Ask me that. I'm gonna just hear this meme of Kate Northrup.
No. It's actually there's a lot of yes, of course it's great for beginners. I wish I had it when I was a beginner. I would have saved myself a hell of a lot of time.
Well, yeah, James says it's he scratched his own itch. It's what he wished he would have had.
Would have been helpful, James, back in 2012 when I met you. However, as a non-beginner, there's a lot of stuff in there that's pretty advanced, and I'm
very advanced.
Let me bring this right to the team. We just pop it right in our project management software, and we're like, okay, great. This is the process we're following. This is how you do it. Done.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. I think is that like you said in the beginning that James has outpaced a lot of people in this market to where there's few people who show up and they have a bigger business than him.
Yeah.
And so in that regard, he keeps adapting BBD every year. Every single year. There's nothing in there that our team is doing that isn't added to BBD. Just the other day, we did it was either our Black Friday campaign or something that I did when we were opening our registration for Next Level, because he and I are always innovating how we're pitching and offering things. And he was like, okay, great, done with that, write that up, make me a process, it goes in BBD. And so it's always this living, growing, evolving thing. And so to me, when someone says like, oh, I thought BBD was for beginners, I'm like, no, it's like, if you are a beginner, you absolutely need it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you could be like spinning your wheels with nothing to show for it for years. But if it's actually the most fun people to coach are the people like you who are coming in already at 7 figures, and you go, make these 5 tiny tweaks. And then you just see the results go.
Oh my God. Insane. Yeah. So it took an already 7-figure launch into nearly a multi 7-figure launch. And
Wow.
that was, really significant. We were able to bring on 3 full-time hires this year, new people. Like, we were able to really do.
You were able
cool
to take the kids to Harry Potter World. Uncle James.
Totally. I mean, that was amazing. And just, really like, I have a really beautiful life. Like, and I mean, I love expansion. However, at this stage of the game, it's really about like, okay, great. How can we use this extra revenue to like create livelihoods for more people and also scale what we're doing to reach more people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, we just didn't tell the synchronistic story about why we're here.
Yes.
I don't know if we want to pop that back at the beginning.
Yes, let's do that. Let's
Okay.
talk about how we ended up here in Austin, Texas. And I want to say this from the point of like, there's this theme that James and I, every year we talk about when we're going to open the doors to BBD, like what's present in the collective right now that we really want to share with people. And what's present to me is that part of this entrepreneurial journey, specifically if you're going to be a coach, is you are saying, what is my unique magic that I'm going to go deliver to the world? What's the thing that I've learned how to do that I know I could hold other people's hand in doing, where I could improve their quality of life, improve their experience of themselves or the way that they walk through the world, and I'm going to go and teach them to do that with my digital course. So if you're doing that, if you're someone who is called to do that, that means that you're stepping into the alignment of your dharma, of like, my unique expression on the planet is going to ripple and affect other people in such a way that they light up. Yeah. Like, I love that expression, the world needs people who have come on fire, because if I'm on fire, then I can light you on fire, and I light you up, and then we all light up the world. So in order to do that, you have to be syncing with yourself, aligning with yourself. And when you get into this sync with yourself, the universe starts to like rearrange things. I mean, the vortex for you.
Is so real.
Yes.
So my affiliate concierge messaged me and said like, hey, you should see if James will, you should see if James will have you on his podcast. And I was like, I responded and I was like, I was just on, I was on this podcast a year and a half ago, and blah, 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 my own stuff.
Reason.
Blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, okay, fine. 12 hours later, Jenni texts and is like, hey, let's do a podcast
like
swap.
Same
because
day.
we're
That's
both supporting
crazy.
each other's launches. Like, it was less than 12 hours later. And I was like, so I messaged Lauren and I was like, okay, A, you're psychic. B, apparently this is happening. And then I just decided to throw out to you guys, because you were like, oh, we could come to Miami. You could come to Sedona. It's just like, I don't know. Life is a lot. We're moving. And then I was like, I don't know. What are the chances? Like, any chance you're going to be in Austin next week? And then they were like, actually, yes.
For one day only.
And I was also here at the exact same time with the same free hours.
Yeah. And what I love about entrepreneurs is that it was like, oh, well, we're in Austin. And James was like, well, I don't have any of my recording equipment. I didn't bring anything. And Kate's like, I'll have a podcast studio in 30 minutes. Where's your hotel? And we text her the hotel and she's like, okay, I have a studio that's 9 minutes from the hotel. And I was like, I was driving here thinking, this is what I love about working with with these incredible entrepreneurs is they like
Bang,
produce
bang, boom.
life. They're like, you need something done? You don't have a podcast mic? Not a problem. We can rent one. Oh, wait, you don't want to come to Miami? We can't come to Sedona? Hectic travel schedules? We're in the same city for 48 hours. We should record then. It's amazing. Yeah. And I think that came to me when I take these salt baths where I do my like in the launch, it's like part of my creative routine is every day at 6 o'clock, I go and get in my like launch salt bath and I take my little cell phone in there and I just sit in my bath and meditate and I write down all these ideas. Sometimes the entire bath.
So adding this to my launch.
Oh yeah. Sometimes the entire bath, I'm like texting people and sending emails and I thought of something else. And that was one of those times where I was just like, what's next right now? And then I went, Kate,
came to you
and I went,
launch
James, I have a great idea. We need to do an episode with Kate. And I want to specifically talk about her results and BBD and how she's leveraged your coaching. But then I also want to do an episode so that we could support her launch. And then you were like a yes for that. And I didn't know that the universe was tapping me on my shoulder going, Kate just said no. Kate just said no. She got in her stuff. You need to
She
her.
so got in her stuff.
Yeah. Right?
So good.
Isn't that crazy?
Like, please help Kate move past her bullshit.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. For people, there's someone already in their bullshit right now. Right now, they're in their bullshit. And if some way you stumbled onto this episode, might that be here's your sign, whoever's listening, that like, you know, there's reasons all day long, but when you start to step up and go, I am declaring that I am standing in my power and uniqueness and magic in the world to go and deliver that to other people. And when I do that, when I take action, the universe is going to provide more action. Yes. And there's magic in the action. You have to take an action. Then it's like that scene in Indiana Jones. James and I have the recreation of the tablet in Indiana Jones where he finds the Holy Grail tablet where they're stepping out. It's like a picture of like a pharaoh or something and he's reaching for the grail. And I'm like, that's our metaphor for life is you take the step and then that ledge leading you to the grail appears. Yeah. And Indy has that moment of like this is a moment of faith and I have to have absolute faith that I'm going to step out into the void, into the nothingness. And then there's the next step. Yes. And so this is your sign that if you're like listening, going, what will I do with my launch? Should I launch my digital product? What will I do next? You take the next available step, which might be reaching out to Kate. Yeah. Or,
we're sending, like for
watching
me,
the rise.
This is not dissimilar. The whole even reason that we ended up in Sedona and James ended up making that offer to coach us and that I'm even here right now is because I was standing randomly in this summer rental in Kennebunkport, Maine, like picking up my kids' toys. and James popped into my head. And I really had not talked to him in a long time.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I'm going to reach out.
Yes.
So here we are.
But then you took an action on that.
And I did it right away.
Sometimes we tend to like swat away these nudges from the universe because you think like, oh, I don't know why. Like if I would have been like, oh no, I'm not going to text Kate. I don't want to bother her. She's really, really busy right now. And
it's ridiculous.
We just made them go to Harry Potter World with us.
The suffering.
Torture.
Best trip ever.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I could talk to you forever. This has been the most fun recording with you. And I think we're going to bring in Mr. James Wedmore and then do some more. But that's what I have for everyone listening. So we'll see you next time with more digital CEO success stories.
If you are a course creator or have a digital product of any kind, a membership, a program, a group coaching thing, anything, an ebook, like anything that you sell that is digital, you need to listen to this. My friend James Wedmore has also been a mentor and teacher of mine for 13 years, and I can credit so much of the success we've had in the digital online space as an educator with the training and teaching that I have learned from James. Last year, he took me aside and was like, hey, can I just be your launch coach for fun? And he helped us to dramatically increase our launch results by like 75%. He has a free training coming up called Rise of the Digital CEO. I will personally be there, and it is a powerful 3-day training to take you through exactly how to take off with your digital product business. He gets so specific, so practical, so strategic, really into how to actually do it. This is not theory. This is not blowing smoke up your skirt. Like, this is an actual step-by-step workshop completely for free. I have learned so much from James. And when people say, like, how should I take my business online? How can I sell more of my thing? I'm like, you gotta go learn from James. This is the one time a year he's doing it. And you can sign up over at katenorthrup.com/rise. katenorthrup.com/rise. I'll see you there.